Hey everyone, this is Minachi. I just wanted to briefly say something before I get into the giveaway and the rest of the video. Thank you guys so much for the support, and we're up to 200 subs in just 3 videos. It's been pretty insane. I was approached with getting possibly verified for the unofficial content creator of Rebirth. So I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone in the community, and again, shout out to Hunter, one of the admins, for keeping in touch and being such an awesome dude. And yeah, let's get right into this video. And the winner for this week's giveaway is All Rounder Plays. Please come to the Discord and DM me, and I'll give you your 15 million in cash, and I'll trade it. And there will be another giveaway at the end of this video, so stay tuned or skip ahead. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Minachi, and today we're going to be doing a guide on trading and specifically gambling and how to get better parts for cheaper and really speed up your progression in the game and towards getting sets. So if you haven't watched my overall general guide for each tier, it's in the description below, and I'd really recommend watching that first, as it goes over a lot of the basic stuff that I'll be talking about in this video more in depth. But this is specifically about gambling and trading, so let's get into that right now. Another preface is that this guide is aimed specifically towards intermediate players and above. This is above level 500, all the way up. This goes beyond level 1500. This is just general guide knowledge. So if you're not there yet, this will be good to watch, but it's really important for you if you're above those levels. So in my guide, I talked about different sets and why I endorse them and why they're good, and price to performance ratio was a major thing that I talked about because I didn't really, I wouldn't recommend a Tronador set from the Odyssey Tower for someone that's under level 1000 because it's really hard to grind and is pretty expensive. But one of the ways to counteract how expensive these parts are is gambling. So sets with different traits have different values. For example, if you're using an attack type set like a Tronador, one of the worst traits you can get on that set is armor or turbo. These two are some of the more weaker traits, whereas tanky would be great for a defense style bay, as it increases the defense of your stats by that specific amount, and it increases with each tier of your part. So for example, a T6 Atro with strong gives you 13, while a T5 only gives you 8. But some parts, like a Tronador, are pretty dang expensive once you get into like the higher tiers. For example, a T5 with strong is going to cost right now anywhere from 80 to 100 million, whereas a traitless, a whole set of 3 parts at T5 is only going to cost like 40-45 million. So traits really change how much a part is actually worth. And the reason is because it's actually a decent bit harder to get these traits the higher tier you go. But the reason why that's important is because when you're doing upgrading on the fusion machine, and you go to, let's say, combine, let's just use these parts, and you go to combine 3, right? It's a 100% guarantee that you'll get that part at that tier, but it could be any one of these 3 traits. For example, if I want to use, let's say I want to use this Inferno, right, to make a T4 Inferno in this case, but I don't want any of these traits. What can I do to fix that? So instead of using 3 of the same kind, you can actually use a third of a different type of set of part, but it has to be the same tier and the same part. So, for example, you can do 3 tops, but you can't do 2 tops and 1 mid of the same tier. So this allows you to, quote unquote, gamble, where you'll put a top with a desired trait. For example, if I take these 2 Achilles and I try to get a resistance on it, this actually gives me a 1 in 3 chance that I will get an Achilles with resistance trait. The other 2 are strong and tanky. They both have a 1/3 chance. So you can actually use, for example, angel parts are very expensive, but if I use 2 of these with 2 desired traits, and then I can use a really cheap third part of the same tier, for example, this astral top, it essentially saves me 1/3 of the cost of each time I do it. You can also change it to have a better trait. For example, if I do 2 Atronador parts of the same tier, right? I can actually make that third that's significantly cheaper than Atro, have the trait I want for a fraction of the cost. So when you're looking at a T4 Atronador, right, that's going to be, what, 40 to 50 million? But if you're looking at, for example, a Drawn Sword, right, really bad part, but it has strong, that's going to be maybe a few million. So you're saving yourself like 1/40th of that price. So when you're combining parts like this, right? And I'll just do it for the thing. I have a 1/3 chance of it having no trait, which is the worst case scenario. Although in this case, armor is also pretty bad. I have a 1/3 chance of getting focused, and I have a 1/3 chance of getting strong, but I have 100% guarantee to get a Atronador top because there's a majority of that part. So let's just try to gamble it here. And look at that. I got strong T3. Perfect. That is worth, could be anywhere like 10 mil right there. So when you're doing these like educated gambles, it can go either way. It's better just, you know, to be safe and have at least 2 of the same trait. Don't try to do 1/3 like I did. And that's the general idea for gambling. So you can do this across all tiers. That's how I ended up getting a T6 strong traded set of Atronador. It's also important to note that different sets and different type. It's also important to note that different types of Beyblades, right? Different styles of playing, like attack, defense, or stam, have different desired traits. So for attack, it'll be strong, healthy, and agile are all relatively good traits to have on the set. Obviously, strong is going to be more important than the other two, but healthy is probably the safest bet you can make for any piece. This is because every single Beyblade needs some stamina, and you can always just take points away from stamina and add it to attack to sort of counterbalance the fact that you have a healthy set. So not super important. For defense, it'll be tanky, healthy, and then agile is pretty good. And then even strong is okay if you're running alternate angle, like in the guide that I told you about before, again in the description. And then for stamina, the only one you want is healthy, right? If you're running stamina, you don't really care about speed percentage that much. You really just want the highest stam you can get, and you'll just put some, points into speed. Everything's okay. Just healthy is the best part for that. And stamina is a bit unique because it doesn't have any legendary traits that affect it, right? When you're looking at legendary traits, powerful only hits attack and defense stats, right? Resistance is the only one that really affects stamina because it adds a reduction to skill damage by a certain percent based on the tier of the part. So resistance is the only part that you'd really look at for a stamina set, but you still really want healthy because that's the only actual way to really get your stamina stat up without just, adding points, like trait-wise. So stamina is a bit unique in that aspect. But agility is okay. Resistance is obviously good. For attack parts, yes, power is very good. This is a well-known fact. Another good sort of rogue trait to have on an attack set is piercing. This is specifically for going against defense types because piercing activates against a defense stat specifically. If you want to know more about piercing, the last video I did was actually on piercing, and it goes a little bit more in depth on why it's a good trait to have in your set and why it's effective and why you should probably consider it for your set. Obviously, power is going to be a very sought after trait in a set for both defense and attack, but power is really, really expensive as it increases attack and defense. So it's good specifically for defense types because when you change your stats on alternate angle, it affects both of them. So powerful is really, really effective. It's really, really good. But it is important to note that a T6 strong gives the same result as a T5 power. And a T5 power on something like a Tronador goes for like 1.4 billion. Whereas a T6 with strong is way easier to craft. You can do it yourself. It is, really hard to craft because it's only a 20% max chance. Like if you go to craft this, see how it's only a 20% chance. That's why they're so rare, and the soft cap is T5. So when you're going to craft, this is something to just keep in mind. And when you're lower level, and you're rolling and you get like a legendary part, I would actually recommend selling it because they actually are worth quite a bit. Something like resistance is worth anywhere from 4 to 5 million on a T0 part. It's all kind of like relative, but that is a lot of money when you're starting out, and that can get you to a really powerful set early on. So that's why I recommend selling those. Or if you want to gamble craft, because this is a gamble sim to you, feel free. I can't control what you do. That's the general idea for gambling. Really short, pretty simple. Anyone can do it. And like I said, this is really important for people that are trying to make really expensive builds. This is why it doesn't apply to that much to people underneath level 500. Because if you're going for something like a spider set where each roll costs 75,000, you don't want to waste those parts. So when you're coming over, if you come over here, Draco and Zodiac are the cheapest parts in the game, right? They're 1750. So cheap. You can mass buy these and use them as fodder for the gambling that you do with your actual important pieces. This is what I normally do. To get really good traded parts and sell them later. Moving on to trading, you'll notice that when you trade, there is a 10% tax on all cash trades. So when you see the words MCT behind a cost, that means it is millions, cover, tax. So what that means is whatever cost they're asking you to pay for something, you pay an additional 10% to cover that tax. So if something is 10 MCT, for you, it's going to cost around 11 million because it's minus 10% for that. Like I said, super short video. I'm not trying to bore you down with any like extra in between facts or anything, just simple and straight to the point. That's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for coming here. If you have any questions, please join the Discord. There's a questions tab where you can go and ask stuff. There's a general chat, super chill. And I'll see you guys in the next video.